to Global Gaming Women Fair Game Podcast. We are here at the Light and Wonder studio. So excited to be joined by my fellow co-host, Anika Howard. How are you?
I am wonderful, Bronwen. It's always good to see you. You're always just a ray of sunshine, and I love the green. It's and it's very on brand for BetMGM.
Yes.
So,
yes. GGW.
Yes, and GGW.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the things.
All of it. Yay. Well, perfect. I am so excited for the second Spotlight Series episode of season 2 with BetMGM. Our first, actually, of the podcast history, first episode where we're going to have multiple people of the same team, which I love.
That's great. And from what I hear, they're all women in iGaming, which is amazing.
Exactly. And iGaming and sports betting comms, it's so magical. Like you have to have that variety of perspective, right, in those decision-making rooms to understand, to market to build for the demographics that you're serving, but more importantly, the demographics that you might not even realize that you're missing, which is actually how you scale a business.
Absolutely.
So, we got to have the, tapestry of perspective. It's just wildly important. I personally have an all-female team as well, so.
And pretty much, excited. Like we've had some diversity hires, so there are a few men in there now. I'm sorry.
I love the way you said that. Soundbite. That's going to be a clip on LinkedIn. I love that. Freaking love you, Anika. Oh my gosh. Well, I will say they do, it's not just a female team. Their traditional PR team is all women, which I'm so excited to hear from each of them today. But their entire PR comms team actually does comprise of a few other men as well. Yes. So in terms of the PR insights that bring odds and data to media, they have their 3 experts, John Ewing, Drew Odell, and Zach Ashkenazi. So shout out to the 3 guys. We love y'all too. We love a good ally. But I am super, super excited for the conversation today amongst Jennifer Arapoff, who is the Director of Public Relations at BetMGM. Also Katie Kohler, their iGaming Communications Manager, and Kimberly Palter, their Senior Communications Specialist in Sports Betting. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation because of the unique paths that each of them have had, but there's a through line in all of them, and it's all led them to where they are today in this incredibly successful team. And that's the point of the Spotlight series, right? We want to shine a light on, the unique career journeys of women, because you never know when, hearing about somebody else's journey could resonate and become a catalyst for beautiful changes in your own life and career and give you that permission slip,
Yes, and I always love when you have convergence of people and talents, and now, of course, you're kind of one-upping yourself in terms of having a team and spotlighting a team, which is important because in many cases it's a team that's required to move things forward. It's never anyone alone that's making it happen.
Yes, no, I am team. Exactly. And I really love just the difference in perspective and the differences of what brought them here. And also just, you have to have that, once again, you have to have that tapestry. And it's a beautiful reminder that we don't all have to go through the same things to get to a similar goal in a similar place. No. During our prep call, I'm totally going to steal one of their phrases, but during our prep call, we were chatting about how, a career, it's a career path. It is a jungle gym, not a ladder. Yeah. There are going to be different things that we all experience that are personal to our own lives. And that doesn't mean that having a different experience could hold you back from getting to the same place.
And I think that's so important to really say that sentiment, because in so many times people are looking at others' experiences and other people's paths, and then comparing that to where they are or where they want to go. And everyone's journey and everyone's path is individual. So I love the idea of it being a jungle gym, because that's a very good visual of the way you kind of weave in and out of life and in your career.
Yeah. And exactly to your point about comparison, another thing that actually came up in our prep call was talking about how comparison is the thief of joy.
It really is.
And exactly, if you're gonna, sit there and compare yourself, to where you think you should be, like we hate that word should, but where you think you should be, and if you count yourself out before you're even there because you don't have that traditional exact path that you expected, that could be a self-limitation, a limiting belief that holds you back from where you're supposed to be. Yeah. So it's okay. We all have unique career journeys. That's why we do the Spotlight series. This is going to be a good conversation.
This is going to be great. I can't wait to listen in on what the ladies have to say and what they have to share.
Yeah. So. Let's do it. Let's bring them in.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I will let you get to it. And look forward to seeing you on screen.
Yes,
Thank
yay.
you.
All right, Jen, welcome to the Global Gaming Women Fair Game podcast. How are you?
Thank you. It's great to see you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here with us. We are so excited to hear your insights, your perspective. And this is a first for the pod, getting 3 members of the same team all talking about their unique journeys and bringing it all together at the end. So thank you.
I love that. I'm so flattered from that.
Yes.
Our team is, power in numbers for sure. So love that all of us get to share our perspectives.
Yes, exactly. I know your team is so wonderful. I can't wait to hang out again in person. But let's dive
Likewise.
let's start with, the whole point of the Spotlight series. Let's hear about your unique career journey and spend a couple minutes learning about your origin story, how it's built the perspectives for you, and really how you got to where you are today.
I love that. That's a great place to start. So I was born in, no, I'm kidding. Let's see. So I went to University of Maryland. I guess that's a good place to start. Go Terps. Studied journalism, and very fortunate right out of school to get a job in magazine publishing. So it was in the editorial side using my J School degree, but my sequence, we had to have, it wasn't a minor, but it was your area of concentration was public relations. And so I quickly kind of learned that I like to use adjectives and a little more, fluffy approach to my writing. And so I moved over there at the magazine publisher to what is now considered just sponsored content. Back then it was advertorials, right? We worked with advertising clients. We figured out what their story should be. And we did printed articles with the special advertising section header on it. So it was a marketing and communications and PR kind of all wrapped up into one. And I really liked that aspect of trying to figure out what the messaging was for each of the clients and, bringing that to the right audience.
Nice.
So they were so great. I loved that company. I spent a good 7 years out of school there. So I really grew up in that company. And then one of my prior bosses hired me away to a huge global human capital consulting firm to launch their internal magazine. So still kind of a magazine, but it was in fact a whatever number, let's pick 40 pages magazine, glossy, beautiful, back in the day when people printed pretty things.
I still get print magazines. I love it.
Love it. The smell, the feel. They said it would die, and it hasn't, right? People like to pick those up. But internally, it was their biggest marketing piece. So I was able to do everything from soup to nuts. I was the managing editor, basically. But also in that role did annual report, and we redid their website. This was back in the day. I'm really aging myself, but it was a big deal to have marketing information and how you're going to build your website out and have and we moved it to an e-zine. So it was this great big thing we're not just going to print the magazine, we're going to make a digital version of it.
Revolutionary.
It was a thing.
Yeah.
It was a new area. But really just featured client success stories. And so again, leaning into how I shaped my career, this was figuring out, how to showcase people in their best light. So that was the consistent thread. Had a few kiddos, 3, moved from the DC area where I had been to Detroit. Followed my husband's job opportunity there. He was, of all weird things, he was an NFL coach. So he worked first for what was then the Washington Redskins and then the Detroit Lions. So when I moved to Detroit, I started my own boutique business communications firm, basically. Got to pick and choose what clients I wanted to work with. And it was probably my favorite time of life because there were times when I was able to just say no to a difficult customer or client and pick and choose who I wanted to spend my time with. And that was really empowering. And it was a great way to figure out what I wanted to lean into, where the most effective use of my skills were, and really play to those and figure out what clients would serve those best. So that was awesome. Spent some time at a nonprofit social services agency. might be my favorite job. We were sort of like saving the world, one person and one family at a time. But sometimes when you're saving the world, that means you're saving $0 personally. And at some point,
Yes, feel that.
I decided to move to more of a volunteer for that organization. I love them dearly. It's Jewish Family Services, JFS of Washtenaw County. Still do work with them and consider them dear friends. So that was my compromise. So I jumped back when my kids were a little older now into the workforce, had a stint in healthcare. Great team, really learned a lot in that role, had a lot of things that translate to gaming because we had regulatory issues and dealing with government and learning how to kind of lean into those things as well. But I learned that I hated working in healthcare. It's just not my jam. I thought it'd be more about the foundation and how we're helping people be healthy. And it was not, as we know, healthcare in our country and a lot of other places. It's about the bottom line, right? So that was that. And then I took a job with the Illich organization. They own Little Caesars, Detroit Red Wings, Detroit Tigers, several concert venues. And that was where just my most memorable professional and personal experiences of my life. We had, rock stars and athletes and huge events, and it was amazing.
Oh, very cool.
My big role there was as I was leaving Detroit, I then moved to North Carolina, but with the Illich organization, with Olympia Sports and Entertainment, there I opened up Little Caesars Arena. So I was the lead on communications and marketing for that.
Wow, that's so impressive.
First dig. I have pictures of my little toes on what was going to be like, center ice, cool. To opening the doors. And it was a lovely exit. And then I moved to North Carolina, worked for Sports Business Journal, built their sponsored content studio kind of from the ground up. They had a million wonderful events. They still do great sports betting sponsorships and webinars and podcasts with clients. So I learned a lot about that. It was when PAPSA was passing. And then I was recruited over to gambling.com, which is an affiliate of BetMGMs and others. And then took my job with heading up the comms and PR folks here at BetMGM, and have been here ever since. That was like a year and a half ago.
That's amazing.
So from like Builder Magazine to sports teams and online gaming and sports betting in that order, I guess.
Yes. And I love to, right, this perfect example of the power of transferable, not necessarily skill sets, but industries, right?
Yes.
And with especially the online world and gaming being so new, that's something that is, I think, honestly, from a recruiting perspective, still not necessarily recognized, right? When I was
that's true.
Yeah. I mean, when I was building and leading our casino gaming portfolio for about 2020 to 2023, the amount of hiring managers that were like, we need 5 years, we need 10 years. I was like, but
it doesn't exist.
Yeah. I was like, that doesn't exist in the States. Yeah.
Well, and that's a good point. So many of the folks that we work with now in gaming have 20 years of experience, but they came from Europe and Latin America and other places where they've, had a little more mature market. So there's that mix of folks that have the best possible skills to take a startup mentality and move things forward and use all the things you need to have excellence in, any business as they mature, but steal a little bit of that expertise specifically in online gaming. So that's how BetMGM is built. And I know it's how a lot of our great competitors and peers are as well. It's kind of that mesh.
Yeah. And that regulatory experience, that's so key. That's amazing. And I too was a PR concentration. So it's so fun.
Yes.
I love also what you said about like loving the fluffy, overly verbose, words and all of that. I often get feedback about clear and concise communication because I get very excited and it's
hard. You have to be that journalism editor to yourself to get to the point, but I throw in adjectives. I just do. I think it makes the writing a little more beautiful. Fine. So we need to edit each other. That's definitely part of what our team does. Yeah.
Love that. So that is such a unique career path, right? You've hit on so many different, not just markets, but industries, right? This is just such like a beautiful tapestry of so much, inspiration to really pull from. How is your day-to-day right now? How has that impacted what you are currently most proud of and what you're doing on your team?
I think every day I have reminders. So I hearken back to some of those previous roles, and I find that in my team, let's start here. My team is the best in the business.
Yeah.
It is a known entity. I hear this whenever we travel, whenever we're at different events, whenever I encounter people. And it is such a point of pride to be associated with the folks that are on my team. Oh, you have Katie. Oh, you have Kimberly. Oh, you have Johnny. Everyone recognizes BetMGM's talent that far precedes me, and certainly, is what makes us successful. So that is a point of pride. And in our day to day, I would say, yeah, Kimberly is sort of my go-to for analytic thinking. Katie is our idea generator. She's so creative. So, and, I've been around the block a few times, so I like to think that I can bring perspective, how to keep the scope in mind for every decision we make. And together, I think it's a beautiful kind of marriage of skills. Yes. It is weird, I will say, we're a joint venture. So GM Resorts International and Entain are our two parent companies. Those are public companies. And while we're North American based online business, we have global factors, right? And we have these other parent companies that very much have the what is the right word? They have the wonderful support of shareholders, and then they also have to, listen to investors and shareholders in terms of how we conduct our business. So being a JV has been on a day-to-day basis a new and interesting thing for me to learn. I've never taken. I've worked at a private company. I worked at a public company. I've actually taken a company from private and done the IPO and done all that, which. That's another whole podcast, my friend. Holy crap, that's a lot. Talk about a lot of work. Oh my gosh, so much work involved in that. And so learning how to navigate, the various audiences of not just our own communications and brand and, what our marketing team is after and who our customers think of us, all of that beautiful blend, but you also have to keep those two shareholder companies that own us in mind and what their audiences are. So it's a learning opportunity for me just every day. Yeah.
But that's powerful too, because I'm sure, right, as you were starting your career and as you were, right, like in the middle of it and all of that, bringing you to where you are today, I'm sure you didn't necessarily know, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm going to, in 2025, be working at a JV, and these complexities that I'm experiencing currently are going to inform, right, like my ability to navigate. Like that's definitely such a great example of, you never know.
I did, I'm sure you have found this too, but in my educational background, it was if you can do a good job of PR, which is promoting, amplifying, and protecting a brand, right? Managing the communication of that. Then you can do that for widgets. You can do that for services. You can do that for pretty much anything. And yeah, if I think back to my magazine days where that company was Builder Magazine and concrete and remodeling and things that I didn't know anything about, but you learn it. And now all the way to online gaming. It's a bit of a head cocker.
Yeah, quite a dichotomy.
How did this happen?
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I love the way that you just uplifted your team, right? The way that you were talking about Katie, Kimberly. I mean, you can just absolutely tell that you're a wonderful, wonderful leader. The way that you are just so naturally, organically empowering them. And I feel
well, thank you for that. We're just so fortunate. I think we all kind of agree, right? Like we're very grateful for one another and to work with the folks that we get to work with.
Yes, I love that. And a good segue, right, into our favorite final closing of any Spotlight Series interview, talking about the best compliment you've ever received and how it positively impacted the trajectory of your career, your life.
Yeah. Ooh. That's a good one. My brain goes to something I was kind of most proud of here at BetMGM, which is our Super Bowl experience last year, where we had our first ever Super Bowl TV commercial. It was in Vegas, so it was in our backyard, right? Vegas is at the very nature of MGM, our parent company, and the whole idea of gaming. So for us, it was a moment in time. We had amazing creative, and we had this cool commercial with like Vince Vaughn, Tom Brady, Wayne Gretzky, and I got to hang out with those gentlemen and bring our VIPs like experiences, events with them. And we got the cover of Wall Street Journal to do a story on this amazing commercial. And so that was really like feather in my cap and very complimentary to the work that I was able to do there. I would say that stands out probably the most as far as pride moments, but I guess compliment. I will end with this. I had working with Olympia and with the Illich organization. Unfortunately, the owner, Mike Illich, passed away in 2017, and we had a very public celebration of life. World leaders, George W. Bush and his wife Laura were there, and all the athletes you can think of, and all these important people showed up. And I did a lot of speech writing for that event. And one or two of the folks that I wrote a speech for, one in particular was like the day-to-day broadcaster for the Red Wings and a journalist himself. And I wrote a speech. He had known him years and years, so I assumed the role of sort of his, voice in this. He stood up there in front of all these thousands of people and just read my words word for word and told me afterwards that, he didn't need to change a thing. So that was a very nice compliment, just on my writing and being able to find that voice for the right audience. So, those are the two that stick out, I think. Those are two feathers in my cap. Yeah.
Is beautiful. And I love that, like the power of, that strategic nuance positioning and how that can evoke emotion and absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, that is just so special. That's such a gift. AI is never going to replace that, right?
Exactly. Oh, you just hit on such an important part. Like that humanity that comes across and that emotion is not going to be something that a computer generates. It's just not. So good tool. Yeah. Plenty of great uses, not hating on it, but will never replace you or I in terms of what we bring to the table. I hope. Yeah. I hope. Yeah,
not in our lifetime. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much. Oh, I'm so excited to bring in the rest of the team and hear about all these different journeys and how they've all brought you to this day today, and how, people can come from different backgrounds and still achieve the same goals, right? We can all, have these different experiences and end up where we want to be. So thank you so much for sharing all of your insights.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I can't wait to hear what the rest of us share with you and tell our story here at BetMGM PR. So thank you so much.
Such a great team. All right, we'll talk to you soon. See you later.
All right, take care. Thanks. Bye.
Welcome, Katie, to GGW Fair Game Podcast. How are you?
Hello, great to be here.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to this conversation. And I just have to start it out just so our listeners know, this beautiful full circle moment of how, we got to meet finally in person at G2E, but had actually been connected on LinkedIn because of the podcast, right? And because of, that connection and feedback and all of that. And then when we were at G2E, we were actually talking about doing a podcast, on the floor. But the ideas just kept evolving. And here we are, over 6 months later, but finally bringing this vision to life based on, organically connecting because of podcast feedback. So thank you, Katie, for reaching out.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I think it shows, and you know this as well as anyone, the power of networking and what happens. You never know what happens from a hello, a LinkedIn message, and here we are now.
Yes, exactly. And thank you for pinpointing that. You're right. It's the power of networking. I love it. Well, I am so looking forward to hearing all about your unique career journey in the theme of the Spotlight series, and then tying it back to this current day of this amazing, female team that y'all have in at BetMGM. So I would love to get started with your origin story. Tell us about, your career journey, what brought you to where you are today, and the lessons learned along the way.
Great. Again, thank you so much for having us. A communications team with 3 women. I am incredibly lucky, and I never forget where I'm at, which is at BetMGM, and the name on the marquee means a lot, but to also be working with 2 incredible women, it is really a privilege. My story, I really wanted to be in journalism. I always thought I'd be a beat reporter for the newspaper over my shoulder here, the Philadelphia Daily News. It was something that I always wanted to do. I grew up right outside of Philadelphia, which is where I am now, a huge Philadelphia sports fan, and I wanted to write about the teams. This is what I wanted to do really since I was a kid. My background is in journalism, so my origin story and my background, I wrote for a number of newspapers and magazines in Philadelphia, and that's really where I grew my writing chops. I had a really good professor in college that was like, you should also learn more about PR. You have a good knack for it. And I got into that as well. And I did work for a number of agencies as a copywriter and account executive, doing everything from website copy, working with hospitality companies and coming up with different ideas for campaigns for them and media pitches, press releases, talking points, and
Everything.
It was something that I really enjoyed doing. In a point in my career, and this is a part where you might hear women leave this part out, but it was a very important part of my story. I had to pause because I had a serious women's health issue to deal with. And that caused me to really step back from the hard pursuit of my career. I went back to work at my aunt's sandwich shop outside of Philadelphia. I had to freelance in journalism and PR and concentrate on getting better because I was really sick and at a very dicey, but it also, this time dealing with a really major health issue helped me understand my priorities and what I wanted. And in a job, in my life, and what I really valued, because you could always make more money, but you can't make more time.
Yes. Yeah.
And once I got better through the help of some wonderful doctors, the support of my family and my husband, those priorities were really clear with me. And I was lucky enough at that time, sports betting and iGaming were recently going to be legalized in Pennsylvania. Catena Media, which at the time was the biggest affiliate in the world, was looking for someone to start their Pennsylvania website, Play Pennsylvania, and I was hired to do that. And working for Catena Media at the growth of the legalization of sports betting outside of Nevada, the birth of iGaming, was just such an amazing experience. And as I was getting my health back, this was around 2019, I just grabbed the experience and did everything I could to learn from a really smart people and take it as far as I could. And a lot happened in those few years. Obviously, the pandemic happened, and it was such an amazing experience for me to learn about this new industry, to be around people that were just obsessed with it. And I got obsessed with it too. And in 2022, through really the power of networking, I was able to connect with the Philadelphia Daily News, and I worked to have a weekly sports betting column with them.
Nice.
And it linked back to Play Pennsylvania. So it was very much a full circle moment.
Yeah.
The newspaper that I thought I'd be writing for when I was a kid, I finally, in a way, made it in there. And I really think I was the first woman to have a weekly sports betting column in a major newspaper. And what had happened was in the fall of 2022, BetMGM was looking for an iGaming communications manager. And although I was happy at Catena, sometimes an opportunity comes, and although it appears challenging, I knew it was something that was the next step for me. And it was a challenge that I was really ready for. And that's how I got here.
Yes, and here we are. Well, Katie, thank you so much for the vulnerability. First off, you're right. A lot of people don't talk about that, but that's a huge part of the impact on your career journey, right? On anyone's career journey is recognizing, when you need to take a step back, whether that is for your own health or others' health, and that's real life, right? Like that is real. So thank you for the vulnerability there, but also just so exciting to your point about getting to experience that golden age when, right, that had been a dream since a child. And then you get to see that golden age of this expansion of industry. It's so inspiring, right? To kind of like see that full circle moment work out for you. And so tell us, in your current day to day, right? In your, current most proudest moments, et cetera, how has that unique career journey, how has that impacted you in your day-to-day? And, how is life going right now?
Life right now, I always say you really know how you feel about your job on Sunday night.
Yeah. Scary as or not.
Obviously, we're all excited to watch White Lotus. I get that.
Yes.
But
it's over.
if on Sunday night you are like, I am not looking forward to this week. I am so excited to do what I do. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be a challenge. It's supposed to surprise you. You're supposed to want to do different things and find different ways to amplify the story of BetMGM, casino, poker. What are different things that we could do? Aside from, obviously, there are the usual things that we do. And then there is obviously the brand protection mode. But it is something that, for me to see the full circle, I really never forget. My parents have always been like, never forget where you came from, never forget your values. And I think about the teachers I had that meant so much to me. And I also think about the people I work with. Some of the people I work with have been doing this for so long, and I try to learn as much as I can from them.
Yeah. Oh, that's so special. And I love, so obviously we just had Jen on, and I can't wait to bring Kimberly on as well. But the way that you all talk about each other is really special. The way that you casually uplift each other throughout just, normal conversation, kind of weave in those compliments, so to speak. So a good segue into our favorite place to, end a Spotlight Series interview is, right, what is that best compliment that you've ever received, and how it has positively impacted or, changed the trajectory of your life and career?
Yeah. I would say the best compliment I ever got is, I'm proud of you, from my parents and my husband. And, to go back to your previous question of the day-to-day, there are things and victories that I could say are the biggest for iGaming and poker. We had a record jackpot that it's something where, iGaming doesn't have a sports calendar. You have to kind of look for the stories. And I did some research and discovered this is the biggest jackpot in the history of legalized gaming in North America. Or the United States, it was at the time. And to keep that narrative going and to keep the jackpot story going, to be able to really work with some of the great partners we work with, getting compliments from them and the people we work with, just a great job, means a lot too. It does. But my family sees the work I put in, and again, the trajectory, and for them to say, I'm so proud of you, really has a lot of deep meaning.
Yes. Oh, that's so important, right? Like, what a beautiful reminder that the people closest to us, right, when we see the work that they're putting in, it's so often just in your day to day, just roll through it and they're like, oh, yeah, that's Katie, or oh, that's Bronwen. That's just, what they do. But to recognize, to affirm, right, that how impactful that can be on right mindset and trajectory. And it's just, what a beautiful reminder. I love that. That's such a good one. And I love that you have it framed behind you, right? That kind of dream come true. That is just so inspiring. I love that full circle narrative.
It is. It's framed.
Yes.
And it is. I think it's important to remember parts of your journey.
Yes.
And because something we talk about, and it's so funny, and I'm going to tease the ladies after this. We finally did PR for PR.
Yes,
and
true.
We never do PR for PR because we're always looking for ways to amplify the executive leadership team, to tell the story about a poker tournament's coming and it has a bigger guarantee, and we're working with MGM Resorts on a great new slot release this weekend. And we're like, we should do PR for PR maybe once a year. And it's kind of, my grandma would always say, it's the cobbler that doesn't have shoes.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
And it's something that we should be able to take the time to talk about ourselves.
Yeah.
And the job that we have done, because I'm very much, if you can't say it, you can't be it.
Yeah. Yep.
And there are times, and I know what a wonderful networker and example you are, and how Global Gaming Women is. And it's not just to people that want to get into this industry, but it's people that are maybe mid-career that are like, I'm looking to make a switch. Mm-hmm. With this team, you're going to find women that are very unique. They're unique in their personalities. Me and Jennifer and Kimberly, I'm referring to. We're unique in our personalities, in our path here, in our general styles. And we are working in this industry, and you don't want your team to all be clones of each other.
Yes.
You don't just use flour to make cake.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I'm like, Katie, I don't know which part of what you just said, but I feel like one of it is going to be the soundbite for this episode. Like, that was so good. I love that. PR for PR. Yes, y'all deserve it.
The first thing that came into my mind was, I probably should have saved it for one of our executives then.
Oh my gosh. But no, you all deserve that recognition and right to celebrate this incredible impact that you all made on the industry. I mean, BetMGM, when I first moved to Vegas, I was living at the Martin, one of these, high rises off the strip. And out of my gorgeous, floor to ceiling windows, I saw the strip and I saw the Luxor with the BetMGM logo on it. And it was just so iconic. Like, that's what started Vegas for me. And the commercials, and the content that you all put together, it is just so powerful for getting people who maybe, to your point, haven't necessarily been in the industry excited about the industry. So it's so fun to, be able to hear where you all came from and what does make this beautiful tapestry, to your point, of all these different experiences coming together to create something, really magical that you would not get if you did not have that, variety of perspective. That is what makes a great team.
You use the word iconic, and that it really is. Mm-hmm. And we also work with MGM for certain things, and their comms team as well is so iconic. And the standards here at BetMGM and MGM and Entain, the standards are so high, and it's raised my standard on myself. And everything I will do forever.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. You guys are a great organization, and I love this team. We love an all-female team. Katie, thank you so much for bringing this, to life, right? Like all the way back in October G2E, we brought it to life. So thank you. This is such a fun conversation.
Of course, we'll have to think of something else fun to do at this G2E.
Yes. Yeah, we should. We'll do another podcast. We've got some ideas, but yeah, we'll get you on the floor.
We'll do what do they call that game where you put something on top of your head and you guess?
Oh, heads up. I love heads up. I get way too competitive with my family.
We'll do a fun heads up Vegas style.
Yeah, rapid fire. We love that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Holding you to it. This G2E 2025.
Just on when you walk around the floor and just do a quick game of heads up.
Yes. All right. Find me and Katie. We're going to be playing this game at G2E. Well, thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
All right, Kimberly. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Fair Game Podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. This is actually my first appearing on a podcast. I've worked on podcasts on the back end, but this is my first time as a guest. So I'm very excited. Thank you.
I love that. Oh my God, that's so funny to hear that once again, you've worked on them, but this is your first one. I was obviously just chatting with Katie and she was like, this is like PR for PR. We're always lifting up others and now we get to share our story. And I'm like, yes, you all
That's
deserve
true.
it.
Although I think I'm much better at sharing other people's stories. That's something has not come easily to me is talking about myself as much. So this is good experience. I know that's a skill that's good to have.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. We're so excited, especially if it's the first time. I mean, perfect segue. Let's dive into it. Would love to hear your origin story, really how, your career has gone, what your unique path has been, and what's brought you to here today.
Absolutely. Well, I would not have imagined that I'd end up in this career if you'd asked me when I was younger. I just didn't know it was possible. But I think if you look at all the steps and my whole path, it makes a lot of sense. I went to Northwestern University and I studied communications and theater, actually. Couldn't decide which one I wanted to do. Did a brief stint acting and decided at the young age of 22 that I was going to retire from that field and wanted to go back to school for broadcasting. But in the gap year, I ended up getting a seasonal position working for the Detroit Tigers in their media relations department. And I discovered this career that I didn't know existed, which was working for a sports team. And it was a pretty good year to work there. The Tigers went to the World Series for the first time in 20 years. So it was a party after every playoff game. It was such an amazing experience. So being a young kid, I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. How is this a job? So it was just a seasonal position. I went and worked for a PR agency just for a little bit and then was really fortunate to get my foot back in the door with the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Elledge organization, same as the Detroit Tigers. And I started off as a marketing assistant and I worked my way up in various roles there. And after 14 years, I ended up as the director of integrated media there. So I was overseeing social media. I was overseeing the editorial team, video production team, and it was amazing. I won a Stanley Cup with the team. I got to plan the parade. I closed down the iconic Joe Louis Arena, worked on that campaign. We opened up Little Caesars Arena. It was awesome. But then I had my first child and I decided it was time to look for a different field that was a little more conducive for a working mom. And I ended up at the Wayne State Office of Economic Development, leading their marketing and communications functions. We also ran a nonprofit, a business incubator and accelerator. And I love the idea of giving back to the community. I love Detroit. And by lifting up small businesses and tech companies, I was really able to feel very ingrained in the community. So I had a great 4.5 years there and decided to look for another opportunity. And I was looking at BetMGM even before my current position opened up because I had heard from some former colleagues at the Red Wings that were now working for BetMGM about what a great organization it was. The culture was amazing. And I loved the idea of being at the intersection of sports and sports betting and having an opportunity to shape this industry. So when Jennifer took over as the director and posted this position, I jumped at the opportunity and a little bit over a year later, here I am. So I'm still very new to the industry, but I'm learning a lot from Jen and Katie and some other amazing mentors there.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I jotted down so many notes. First off, theater.
Okay.
I did not know that. That's so fun. I too was a musical theater girly, so that is so cool.
Ooh, yay!
I know. I'm like, there must be like a thread, a commonality between
I know.
like PR and comms and
Honestly,
theater.
sometimes I can spot people, and it doesn't surprise me, just your presence and everything. You can
I mean,
spot
I got
people
you.
that had that
Yes.
background.
So funny. But I really want to hone in on, so you were talking about, right, the culture of how amazing BetMGM is. And there's been throughout all three of these conversations with your team, just such a common thread about how much y'all love your job. It is so refreshing and exciting to hear. You guys truly love what you do. And it's invigorating, right? It like gets me excited too. And I don't even work on your team, right? It's just, that's how we all should, right? Like feel when we're, coming into work. And also to your point about the opportunity to shape the industry, right? That is so special, and like what a golden age we're living in. I just, hopefully it's not lost on anyone, right, that's listening, right? How unique and special of this golden age that we're in. And I love that, getting to shape the industry and just doing something you love so much. It's very inspiring. So with all that said, how have those experiences really informed, your current daily life and how you're showing up, right? What are the proudest things you're working on, the coolest projects, and how did your experience really inform that impact today?
Well, I'll start with one of the projects that I've been most proud about. And I've had some amazing opportunities working on 2 different Super Bowl campaigns, 2 March Madness campaigns, and they were both just wonderful opportunities. But a project that we wrapped up recently is something that I'm really proud of. And that was launching the first ambassador for a sportsbook in Puerto Rico. So we announced Carlos Arroyo, a former NBA player and a Puerto Rican national basketball hero, as our ambassador in Puerto Rico. And this particular project meant a lot to me because it was a multicultural experience. I worked with our team in Canada, in Puerto Rico, in the United States. I worked with consultants in Puerto Rico and really got to learn about a history that I hadn't been exposed to. Carlos is an amazing human being. He's really focused on responsible gambling, which is something that's very important to me and that I want to continue to push that messaging moving forward, as it is important to BetMGM. And the results of the campaign were just staggering. I heard from people down there, you couldn't be on the island and not know that Carlos Arroyo was going to be BetMGM's ambassador. We just had such wonderful coverage across the island. So I really enjoyed that experience. To your second point about how my career journey has, influences the quality of my work, et cetera, I thought about this, and I think the fact that I am newer to this industry lets me look at things. I have a different perspective, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to offer my opinion, and that's certainly welcomed at BetMGM, which is amazing. And also my history working for a sports team as well is giving me a unique perspective as we launch partnerships with new teams and, giving me the ability to come up with creative ideas for how we go about it.
Yeah, I love what you hit on too about, right, the environment being so open to innovation and new ideas, right? That goes back to culture, right? Like
Totally.
I think people don't realize that all the time, right? That innovation stems from a positive culture. Right?
Yes.
You are not going to be able to innovate if you do not have a safe space to fail forward and generate new ideas and pivot based on others' experiences and, takeaways and recommendations. So what a, beautiful through line that, really, really portrays your point about culture earlier and that, space of innovation that you feel like you're in. That's really cool. I love that.
Yes.
So favorite way to close out any Spotlight Series interview, let's hear about the best compliment you've ever received and how it positively impacted the trajectory of your life and your career.
Ooh, I love this question. It really makes me reflect on my life, take a beat and think about my life. And that's really cool to do.
Yes.
I want to say something, initially my gut was say something about work, about a compliment that I've received at work that helped me in my career. But I went a little bit deeper and
Love that.
so at my wedding in 2016, our parents gave speeches, and my dad is not the most verbose human being, but he had the sleeper MVP wedding speech. It was awesome. And what he said has really stuck with me. He talked about my fine character. That was the words he used, my fine character, and how it made him want to be a better father, and how he's so happy that I found someone else that has the same fine character. And it just made me realize that that's what I want to be thought of. That's what I want to work for in my life is this fine character. And that's what that's really important to me. So that's my answer. Just having my character acknowledged. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that so much. And yes, thank you for going deeper beyond career too, because that it impacts career, right? Oh, I love that. Actually, so my company, Insight Global, we have these amazing shared values, and my favorite one is high character and hard work above all else. And it has been such a gift actually for our culture. I love that. That's been a through line of this, individual interview, right? Like that high character, when right, that somebody is genuine, when they are authentic, when they are a good person, right? That is magnetic. Right? That is magnetic. And that's what, creates the better world and the better, work environments that we're in. So I love that. What like a beautiful and noble thing to be told and also continue to strive for.
Thank you. Makes me want to cry a little bit. And every time I watch my wedding video, oh my God, my heartstrings.
Oh, I love that so much. Yay. Oh my gosh, I wish I was at that wedding. It sounds so amazing.
It was fun. It was really fun. Charleston. We did in Charleston. It was great.
What are you going to do for your 10-year anniversary?
Oh my gosh, I am thinking about that already. Very different locations, but I'm thinking Mexico City or Iceland.
We're going to have to chat offline about this because I want to go there too.
Yes, let's do it.
Yay, I love it. Well, Kimberly, thank you so much. Thank you you are like the perfect bookend to these 3 conversations and interviews with your amazing team. And it's just been so cool to see the way that you all have constantly talked about how wonderful of an environment you've created and the beautiful culture in your team and how much you love and appreciate and compliment each other. So thank you for being here and so excited to see what y'all do next.
Thank you for everything that you do. You are an inspiration with this podcast, and I can't wait to hear this episode and future episodes. Yes. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Yay.